After the overwhelming success of Sonic 2 and a few solid trailers, the Knuckles hype train had left the station, and I was the conductor.
Let's go get him.
And after I spent 3 hours of my life watching this show, I can confirm that the hype train missed the station and is face down in a Montana ditch. There were several fatalities. Let's talk about this show's surprising failure on every level and how Knuckles may affect the future of Sonic 3 and beyond.
What's the worst that could happen?
Just a heads up, there are going to be some light spoilers in this video, so you have been warned. If you're like me, then you tuned into Knuckles expecting a fun adventure where he trains Wade in the ways of a warrior, while also learning to adjust to his new life on Earth. And the first episode does a fairly decent job of setting this up. It was great seeing the band of Sonic characters together again. Could it also be a coincidence that Jeff Fowler, who also directed Sonic 1 and 2, was the man who directed this first episode?
I think not!
Unfortunately, things start to get pretty dicey from here on out. We find out pretty quickly that Knuckles isn't even the main character in his own show. Instead, it's Wade freaking Whipple. Remember him? The half-witted deputy from Sonic 1 and 2 whose only characteristic is that he's an idiot?
You are made of stupid.
He's the star of this show whether you like it or not. I wouldn't have had as much of a problem if he took on more of a co-lead role with Knuckles, but it's Wade's motivations that drive the story. It's Wade who has to overcome his limitations, but yet it's Knuckles who ends up taking the back seat throughout this show. Maybe it's just me, but I actually like my shows that are named after the main protagonist to actually be about the main protagonist.
What? That's crazy!
We see this form of bait and switch in movies and TV shows all the time. It's usually when a studio lacks confidence in the marketing of a character, so they build the project around a separate character who is pre-established and iconic in order to draw out the general public. But this usually leads to a lot of fans feeling misled, and it does cause a lot of division within the fandom. In this case, it's like Paramount desperately wanted to make a Wade spin-off show for whatever reason, but they also came to a separate conclusion that no one would watch the Wade Whipple show. So what did they do? They added Knuckles, fresh off of his amazing introduction in Sonic 2.
I am having the fun.
But if the Paramount executives thought that adding Knuckles to this unfunny and lazily written turd of a show would just be a magical band-aid that fixes everything, they would be horribly mistaken. That's no knock against Idris Elba, because his vocal performance as Knuckles is absolutely the best part of the show. I just wish that he didn't have to go down with the sinking ship of Wade Whipple and family. Oh, speaking of the Whipple family, I cannot stress this enough. I would rather scrape a cheese grater across both of my eyeballs and have Baby Shark playing in the background while I'm tied up in a closet somewhere than to have to endure one more second of the Whipple family in this show. We meet Wade's mom and sister in episode 3, and you know what? His mom was actually alright. But Wade's sister, Wanda. Oh, dear sweet Wanda. I am not directing any hate towards the actress who plays her. At the end of the day, she is just doing her job and reading a script. But as for the actual character of Wanda, she is positively insufferable, completely idiotic, and annoying beyond belief. Her interactions with Wade just feels like a bad SNL skit where it's two numbnuts riffing off of each other and attempting to out-funny the other person. Oh wait, did I say funny? I meant cringe. As a guy with two sisters myself, I don't think that the writers realized that siblings act nothing like how they portrayed Wade and Wanda. Their tomfoolery even crescendos at the dinner table where they're all partaking in a family Shabbat meal together. There's the classic kicking each other under the table, stealing their siblings' utensils, you know, mostly normal stuff. But then Wanda, who I cannot stress enough is a grown woman working for the FBI, takes out a fork. You're not gonna believe this unless you've seen the show, and stabs Wade in the arm with it.
There are so many things wrong with that. I don't even know where to begin.
I think I've reached my stupidity limit. How on God's green earth did this make the final cut? Do they think that we would watch this scene and go, oh, that's so relatable. I too like to mess with my siblings by
stabbing them with a metal fork.
On the flip side, seeing Knuckles participate in some Jewish customs was not on my bingo card for 2024, but I thought that concept was actually enjoyable. They just had to make you suffer through watching adult idiots do whatever they were doing just to get to the good stuff, huh? And it doesn't get much better from here. Even though it's been 4 years since the debut of the first Sonic movie, the Knuckles show is still recycling main plot points from that film, only without the heart that made the Sonic movies feel so special. Road trip between a human and a CGI character? Yep, except there is a huge, and when I say huge, I mean Grand Canyon-sized drop-off from Sonic 1's story to Knuckles' story. What made Sonic and Tom's relationship more fun in the first movie was that Sonic was the childlike goofball who played off of Tom's more grounded persona, while on the other hand, Knuckles and Wade are both childish in their own ways, and neither provides the emotional depth needed to make their dynamic interesting. It's just stupid joke after slapstick moment after reactionary things like, did that just happen? I mean, even the villains in Knuckles share the exact same motivations as Robotnik in the movies, but with zero of the charisma and energy that Jim Carrey provides as the evil doctor.
In a sequentially ranked hierarchy based on level of critical importance, the disparity between us is too vast to quantify. Agent Stone?
The doctor thinks you're basic.
Boom. Roasted.
Because once again, in the show, it's all about capturing Knuckles and taking his power, and bad guy has quills that power his weaponry and machines, and... We've seen all this before. Kid Cudi and Ellie Taylor are serviceable at best as a pair of clumsy gun agents, but quite frankly, those roles could have been filled by my grandma and her best friend, and we would have all been none the wiser. And as for the main villain, the writers just couldn't resist having the primary villain be an ex-employee of Dr. Robotnik. And honestly, that's his only character trait. Quite frankly, when the antagonist, the buyer, has 5 total minutes of screen time only to get waxed in the finale in embarrassing fashion, it limits how threatening he can truly be. What an absolute waste of Roy McCann's talent. There's only so much story you can tell when you rip off plot lines from your own franchise, and Paramount's decision to play it safe might come back to bite them if this becomes a trend. I can't shake the feeling that Paramount is still afraid to dive into the world of Sonic. Sonic 1 gets a pass due to the then unfamiliar territory of bringing in an anthropomorphic hedgehog into live action. Sonic 2 was a clear step in the right direction with more references, characters, and details that put smiles on the faces of Sonic fans worldwide. So then why does it feel like Knuckles took a massive step back when it comes to its appeal for the Sonic fandom? Well, let's break it down. Did we get more Sonic music? Nope, but could I interest you in 80s rock music and overused pop ballads? I swear, if I hear Holding Out for a Hero one more time, I am gonna lose it.
It's time to stop.
How about we get an episode or two of Knuckles' travels throughout the galaxy? No. All we got was a retelling of his backstory through a rock opera dream sequence with Wade in a Knuckles onesie. You wanna know the craziest thing? This opera contains nearly all of the Sonic references in the entire show. Green Hill Zone, special stages, and freaking Iblis with the Flames of Disaster from Sonic 06. Ooh, they almost cooked with this. But I was too busy wincing at the dollar store Broadway performance to truly appreciate the callbacks. If only this backstory of Knuckles was the true foundation of the show and featured CGI characters and environments, that would have been the coolest.
We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close.
The more I sit here, I really can't imagine who this show was made for. Sonic fans? Well, the Sonic references in this show are few and far between, and you could easily skip this show before Sonic 3 and not miss anything. Was this made for kids? Quite frankly, there's too many adults doing boring stuff and not enough of the Sonic characters that they know and love from previous movies. Was it made for adults? Wade's sister exists. Oh! And the comedy sucks. I'm not hampering on everyone's experience because at the end of the day, comedy is subjective. But for me personally, I think I chuckled maybe like 4 to 5 times in the entire show. But it was more of like that little air that you breathe through your nose when something's mildly humorous. You know what I'm saying? Like the... If this show was created to only be a stopgap to tide us over until Sonic 3, then fair enough, I concede. But I'm worried that the same systemic problems from the first Sonic movie are not going away anytime soon. Sure, the studio promised that Sonic 3 is going to be filled with references, Sonic music, and new characters, but after the Knuckles show, I'm starting to doubt just a sliver. And that's with me being realistic, because I never expected Rouge the Bat or Team Chaotix to show up in Knuckles and give us a tease of Metal Sonic being the surprise villain, but I don't think I'm the only one out there that was saying we could have done so much better than this. You know, I could be overthinking this and Sonic 3 ends up blowing our expectations out of the water, but Knuckles still makes me a little concerned, and only time will tell if the feeling's warranted. I was having a conversation with HB at the movies the other day. Shout out to them for perfectly encapsulating how I feel after the aftermath of Knuckles. And I quote, "All we can do is survive and pray at this point." But what did you think about Knuckles? Did it meet your expectations or did it leave you wanting better? Sound off in the comments below and let's get a conversation going. Sonic fans, We're almost there. December can't get here fast enough. I need that Sonic 3 trailer, like, tomorrow.